There we go.
All right. So I want to welcome everybody to episode 2 of the NWO show, talking everything New World. Obviously, we've had kind of an interesting week with New World, with a whole bunch of new news, but never enough detail to satisfy everyone. But let's see if we can fill some of the gaps, possibly with information you haven't heard before, and possibly with some ideas of how things could work. So there might be a little bit of tinfoil going on here. So with me today, obviously we've got McLeod over here.
Hey guys.
The two of us have been MMO gaming for a significant amount of time. We're both former. Well, I'm a former Eve player. McLeod is relapsed.
I'm a former Eve player. I'm a former Rust player. I'm a former Just Survive player. I'm a former you name it.
Yep. And we've played everything from H1Z1 to Rust to you name it. We've played it. Back in the day, I used to compete in Battlefield 2142, and was one of the few people in the world with the Supreme Commander rank in that game, which I did not get to via stat padding. Just putting that out there. I actually competed and was awarded it during a tournament. So, not trying to pull the Dr. Disrespect, two-time world champ. No, none of that. We won like 3 matches and then we got doused in the semis. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Anyways, enough of reliving the old days. Let's talk about the new ones. We found some interesting information that we have not seen before in terms of additional details to the game and what state it might be headed towards. So we know that this is kind of an interesting time to try and figure out what is going on with the PvP and PvE side of things that's going to bring some level of clarity to how these systems actually work. So I want to remind people that this has been translated back and forth from German. So obviously the developers are English. They speak. They're American. My bad. They speak English.
I was thinking to myself, actually, like, we should have translated it to German, then translated it back, and then translated it to German, and translated it back, and then gone through it. That'd have been an interesting read.
So, for those that want to follow along, I've linked the actual thing if you want to read it yourself. There's some good stuff there. If you've been following the Discord that McLeod posted, and the Streamlabs bot decided that he was going to yell at McLeod for posting, but not actually take it down, it's in the stream. And there should be some interesting stuff in that. Just realized how loud that alert is. Also, thank you for the follows. Everything helps. Obviously, we are not an affiliated stream, so we do not take in any money whatsoever. So your follows are purely because you are interested in following us, and that is awesome. So I appreciate that, and so does McLeod. I would like to note that eventually we'll have a third host. We've got all of the things set up for a third host to be on here, but due to a bunch of comical circumstances, timing, and the every once in a while a night shift, Bard could not make it to the second episode, despite the fact that he attempted to be there for the first episode and this episode, but because of a comedy of errors that continually happens, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Eventually you'll see him. Believe me, he exists. But I suppose that's like my running theme this like entire week has just been like, believe me guys, it's gonna be good. Like they had something that was so great a year ago that like like if you watch the February 8th videos, like you can understand why the alpha community is just nuts about this game. Like, but you gotta trust them. You gotta trust them. And I know that none of this makes sense. I don't have any details more than you do, and we're gonna share with you guys what details we have. But obviously, you gotta trust them and wait for the system to actually show what it is. I think that it's going. I based on this new stuff. So keep in mind this has been translated to German and back. I think that this is going to actively put PvPers against PvPers, reward them for PvPing in a way that actually keeps them fighting more consistently in larger fights for longer periods of time, without the huge delay in between. If they don't want it, and it provides something for everyone else too. And there's so many of these systems that appear like they're going to be so meshed together with meta play and everything that it
just social, just like the social kind of interaction with it is just going to be like alongside all of this is going to be like it's going to add such a like interesting edge to it that I can't wait to try it out for sure.
So I do want to point out that somebody in Twitch chat actually just pointed this out, and I'm going to reiterate their point. A lot of the mechanics that have been described are also mechanics that we've seen in those videos before. So like the systems that were there could be very similar to what we've seen. Obviously there's something different. There's going to be changes. They're going to treat it as a much larger game. They're going to treat it as something that it wasn't back then, and that's huge. Because there was, we can talk about the February 8th videos. There was something missing, and a lot of those reviews said, this is fun, but there's something missing, something else that needs to be there. Like, but what is it? So give AGS the opportunity to let you try it. Now, we don't have any details on when this is going to take place, but eventually there's going to be an alpha. It would be silly of them not to, and they've confirmed it on Twitter that there's going to be an alpha before the beta. We don't know when, we don't know how long it's going to be, we don't know how long it's going to take. We have about 4 months until the beta and 5 months till launch. Now, we've had about 6 months until the last alpha dropped. So consider that as a major amount of time, and think about the systems that they've announced since then, and what level of change they can get done in that amount of time. So obviously feedback early on in the next phase here is gonna be huge. So like, don't discount like your input, and don't discount that the game is dead on arrival or some crap like that. Like, it's not. It's not done.
Yeah, exactly. When you consider that at an alpha stage is basically a situation where the studio is still open for radical change, right?
Absolutely.
Betas where you've locked down essentially the core fundamentals of the game, and you're just basically polishing up the game, and then you get that from the beta to the full release state. And so the fact that we have another alpha stage means that the systems that Amazon Games are kind of putting down, or have kind of described to games journos, are still subject to change, radical change, in fact, if needs be.
Absolutely. And I think, again, just give them that chance. Like, give them the opportunity. There's a lot there. Thanks for the follow.
Nice.
There's so much there, and there's so much that's changed that like they're going to be treating this as a new game. They're going to be, quite obviously there's some stuff here. So let's talk about what it was based on the article that I'm going to repost here in chat. What it was and some of the directions that have changed here. So this is based on the article. Before anybody starts to scream at anybody for anything NDA, I'm reading off an article here. New World was originally planned as a sandbox MMO with a hard PvP focus. So these are all the 2018. This is what it was. Keep in mind this has been translated back. This has been translated from an English interview to German and back to English. So some of this might not be grammatically correct, and some of the word choices might be because Google didn't translate it right. So bear with me. I'm going to read it exactly how it translated to. It should have come with PvP coercion in the open world. I don't know how to... I know that that's not right in a few ways, but I don't know how Google got that from what was there. I don't speak German. I checked it like 4 or 5 different sites, and it kept coming up relatively the same and all of that. So, like, just go with it. Anyways, there were light survival elements that were planned. The PvE content should hardly have been involved. Probably should have translated into was rather light. There wasn't a ton of it. It seemed to be a historic MMO for American colonialization. Now, I want to clear something up, because I have found the original videos that were posted to YouTube about what New World was originally. If you want to check them out, they're in the videos in the Discord. That was the original direction. I'm sure that the fact that they have pulled down those videos and since gone a dramatically different direction tells you that even they know that, hey, this wasn't a direction we wanted to go. This is a much deeper and more interesting story than we could have told in that environment. So if you want to watch those videos, you can. Keep in mind, I found them online. They're not part of the NDA. So, yeah. Also, I want to apologize because I found some of the artwork on the site you could only receive if you were very deep into like promotional material for Lumberyard. So like you really have to find, like, you gotta dig for some of this. Like there is some of these like literally they've got the New World brand in the corner, but unless you're looking for Lumberyard stuff and promotions, you're not gonna find them. Like, anyways, we've collected all of that along with screenshots and all of that in high resolution. Legion dropped by on a bunch of different Discords and dropped in some 4K shots of the video. If you want to use those as backgrounds, they are in the concept art folder on the Discord. So feel free to go through that. Eventually, I'm going to go through and make different channels so that there's some organization, because there's hundreds of photos in there at this point. Like,
it is a smorgasbord of crazy content.
So now let's talk about some of the new stuff. So according to Mine MMO, or what I'm assuming translates to My MMO in German. I don't speak German, so it sounds right to me, but if somebody speaks German and I slaughter some of this, my bad. Like,
or mine bad.
Or mine bad. So for those that don't know, and I'm gonna out who I was in the alpha after I came back, because obviously, like, there's enough people out there that didn't like Commander A's. If you ever ran into Commandant Hans, that's my alter ego, and that's who I played under for a significant portion of the alpha. I would actually go around and do the whole, Guten Tagen, yeah, play up the part, because, otherwise people would know it's me. But good times.
And I don't think I even actually played as McLeod.
Yeah. So, anyways, diving away from that, we've got the new direction based on the article. The forced PvP has been removed. It's moved into an opt-in PvP. So again, it's been translated and back again. So like, there could be some interesting stuff here. Now, bear with us. The survival elements are completely out. Okay. That's an interesting direction from where they were. We also don't know what that means. So, obviously it could mean things like, you don't have to eat, you don't have to drink water. We don't know. So we'll see. Those are some elements of survival, but are they all gone? Like, are you still going to have to fight wolves in the forest? It seems like a thing that you're probably going to have to do.
There's a lot of aspects of survival that like you kind of have to say, are they going like full on survival? Are they not going full on survival? Are they just providing sort of survival-esque sort of things? But like a lot of the time, if you're not actually really centered on the whole survival kind of aspect of it, like the survival-y, the survival light stuff can sometimes start to get a little bit annoying. So you never know. Maybe they just decided that to save the annoyance from the players, to just basically like remove it or something. I don't know.
So the next one is there are 3 factions in the game that players can join. We also know from other articles that companies are going to maintain being a thing. So these seem like overarching, above the company level. And kind of makes me think of like a planet side type feel, where it's 3 factions constantly warring against each other for territory, and with the reputation grind within those to get better and better, and possibly unlock exclusive gear to that faction. There could be some really interesting stuff involved in that. And we've seen some interesting stuff. PlanetSide was a lot of fun. Like PlanetSide 2 was a lot of fun.
The strange thing is, although Daybreak have always been really terrible at actually promoting PlanetSide 2, like it still survives to this day. And it still has meaning. Like it still has very interesting and very entertaining battles that happen. In it, in various different on various different servers around the world. Whether it's US prime time, Euro prime time, like Aussie prime time, not so much. But Aussie prime time's always been a bit of a lower. Lower population than say for example US prime time, but
Absolutely.
it's one of those things that it's lasted for such a long time that clearly they have done something, or they've created something, or they've crafted some aspect that stands the test of time, at least to some degree, right? So yeah,
so
I mean, it's still
one of the other mechanics that this makes me think of. One of the other mechanics this makes me think of is the EVE Online faction warfare.
Yeah.
So in EVE, there are 4 major factions, and they're at war with each other over territory in a war zone, and there's constantly a shifting front where you've got people out there pushing to take systems, people out there pushing to take or hold and defend systems, and it kind of pits them against each other. With a reward structure for, if my faction's doing better, I'm getting more loyalty points by committing to the fight and continually trying to win and push the front even further. Okay, that could be an interesting aspect of this that would make PvP more consistent. Possibly leave that open world feel for the people that opt into these factions. While at the same time, you could be off at the front, fighting for the faction, and all of a sudden, somebody Wardex your claim back home, and you go, okay, hey, we got to pull our guys, we got to go back. Settlements, we can't afford to lose a settlement. That's our income from taxes. That's our income from, the guys around it doing resource gathering. There's a lot there.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. We need to protect that. We need, that's our asset. That's our thing. So there's going to be some interplay in multiple fronts that you might have to fight on and stuff like that I could easily see these mechanics turning into. And obviously Amazon Games showcased sieging as a critical gameplay component that they wanted to showcase in the trailer, in the February 8th videos. Like, they literally walked them through a siege on February 8th. Like, here, come be a part. We'll take you from the beach. We'll walk you over, and you're gonna go take a base and fight against the developers. You know, and they did. There's live 4K video of it.
Yeah, and even that Mine MMO, you know, writer, the journo who actually did these articles, Leia, was it Yankowski? Like, you know, she says, like, in one of them, that, like, she really enjoyed the you know, that particular gameplay, the sort of, like, the, you know, the sieging gameplay. So clearly clearly people enjoy that. So
The next thing on the list is that New World is now an open world MMO. So you know, part of this is you're gonna have to go out and the story isn't going to be, you know, follow the bouncing ball. Here's the next waypoint. Here's this. You have to go searching and adventuring to find what's going on. Like, you know, you gotta go see the high points, you gotta go see the low points, you gotta, you know, go see that shipwreck, because maybe there's a page from the a page from somebody's diary, you know, in it that you need to fill, you know, the storyline, so you further understand what's going on, why the Azoth does what it does in some cases, and, you know,
yeah,
like, I could see that being really cool, and I could also see it, you know, taking quite a bit of time based on the size of the map.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of which they have released the map. I would like to note that, like, we have a lot of this art and we have a lot of this stuff because they have released it on
various platforms, right?
Yeah. They've released it on various things. A lot of it's from Twitter. We've also checked and scoured through their Instagram. We've scoured through their Facebook, and literally any mention of New World online, which I can tell you there are a lot of mentions of New World online that are not related to the game, including r-New World. If you message the mods on r-New World, you were going to the wrong Reddit. Like, they will very quick, like, their pop-up, like, it's a private subreddit that only has, like, a certain number of people. They are not interested in having anybody from the MMO in there. That is not the MMO. Right now, the largest of the subreddits related to it is new_world_MMO, which is a lot. It's not the r-Eve that we're used to for a lot of us, but, you know...
I would say the new_world_MMO, like, is really, really bad when it comes to propagation on search engines. So, you know, if you found it, then congrats.
Yep. It takes some effort, and it does not show up if you search for New World. So you gotta do some digging, but it's there. I want to quick find a image that I want to talk about. I have a picture of the map, and this is why I need to put these into folders. Is because I have to scroll through now 200 plus pictures.
Furiously scrolling through all of the pictures on the Discord, probably.
And the thing is, they've released so many different versions of this that, like, you know, it's not just one. So we're gonna swap to... Sorry. Okay. So, this is the map that they released on Twitter. And I want to talk about this in terms of how big it is. And I'm going to use the reference of the February 8th videos. Now, you can't see my cursor, so I'm going to explain this in terms of words. Weaver's Fen, off to the right-hand side, they spawned one of the guys in at around where the F is if you go straight up and see where the road kind of hits that gray area. They then went down to almost where the V is, and there's kind of this convergence of roads on the map there. And I'm gonna scroll in so that you get a real good idea of like the scale here. Just above the F to just above the V, where the roads collide in that delta-looking area with all the rivers. So
Yeah.
it took them about 10 minutes to get that far. So they weren't like cooking it in any specific direction. This is there were videos out there from the press release on February 8th. That's what we're referencing here. It took them about 10 minutes to get that far. Now, imagine what it's going to take to go from way over on that N on Weaver's Fen to way over there on these islands, or way down here on these islands. You know, you're not just in a different zip code with this. You're like literally mountains away. Like, you know, if the topography here is right, this looks like a mountain range down here. Or, you know, valleys or I don't even know. You know, basic cartography here.
Yeah, at that particular point, you probably want to actually, you know, you kind of actually want to almost wish that you could call on Gandalf's fucking eagles to actually get you to places.
So, you know, that, like, there's a substantial distance you got to cover. So, like, imagine trying to explore all of this, where, like, you know, you have to go out there and find the bits of the story. You have to find these points of interest. You have to find, you know, the ancient temples and the you know, all of this stuff that they showcased in the trailers and the the dev blogs.
And did we have a key like on the side saying like what the various different types of terrain is? Like,
there is not.
Can't remember,
so it's your best guess.
You can kind of tell somewhat that there is some very flat land and it kind of looks like very raised sort of areas. So you can tell that there's quite a wide variety of the topography like in that area. Like there is a lot of mountainous areas. There's a lot of rock faces. So there's a lot of nooks and crannies where you can hide things.
Now, the other thing to note here, so if you look above the actual colored portion of the map, you see this rough outline that stretches off, like off to the left and off up above. That, to me, signals like unexplored territory. This was the map that they released that was, you know, this is what it was during the current version of the alpha, and I believe it was like January that they released this, or whenever they released this map. Like, that was the version of the map. So, you know, they could add a substantial portion to this. Now, the other thing that we can talk about, and this again, I've got to furiously scroll through and find this, but I know roughly where it is because somebody gave it to me the other day. This is a picture of one of the this is a picture of a screen from the February 8th video. So,
oh, nice.
I want to talk about this again. So actually, this would have been better to use because see where this little gold thing is off to the right above Weaver's Fen? That's one of the settlements they were at.
Yeah.
And the other little settlement up the hill from there to the right, you've got, you know,
like
obviously
the kind of fort area kind of thing that they went to.
Now, again,
plus it has the key on the bottom left as well.
I want to state this again. This is from the February 8th video. Like, this is the media types playing this, but this was, if you scrolled in on the map, you got additional details. So we got a resource location here of various different types of resources and different types of terrain. So we've got ocean, coastal hills, shrubland, marsh, highlands, grass, forest, impassable area. So we've got a map. Now, the other part of this is we've got territory markers here.
Lots,
So,
in actual fact.
lots of them.
Damn lot, in fact.
Now, this is, we're not breaking the NDA here to tell you this. This is from the February 8th video. So, this was not a small map. Like, I want to, I don't think I can hit that hard enough. Like, this is a huge friggin' map. And if they have added to it since, it is just colossal. Like, so.
Well, part of me also hopes that, like, you know, when it comes to the actual, you know, the actual release game, that, like, you're not just given the map, right? Part of me really hopes that, like, you actually have to explore it. And
Yeah, you actually have to kind of like look around and find all the different areas or find bits of the map. Or just, the more you explore, the more of the map you actually have. That could be cool. So, there's a decent chunk there.
Be cool if you actually found like little, if you could actually find like little segments of like torn off map or sections or areas that you could add to your own.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway,
So,
sorry, I'm just spitballing here.
No, that's good. That's good. So okay. Going back to the article again here. There will be PvE. There will be more PvE content than originally planned. So that's interesting. I mean, that's consistent with everything else. Obviously, there are PvE systems in place that they've been hinting at in the dev blog or the dev diary that they released earlier this week. They announced some kind of deliberate attack from the NPCs. Possibly like an invasion or something like that. Like that's what it brought to mind for me, at least. Like, maybe the NPCs, if nobody sieges you for a little while, maybe the NPCs just go, hey, it's time, and come out to siege your base. That could be a lot of fun, actually. I was a big fan of the incursions in EVE Online, so this would be a natural progression of a system similar to that, where they might attack a certain area 1 week, and they might attack a different area next. And that could be a lot of fun. Obviously, an additional change would be an additional change would be that the story now takes place in a completely fictional world. We're no longer aiming at that colonial feel. They're starting to dive away from that, and with some decent cause. Like there's a much richer story that can be told here.
You can also be a lot more creative as well without having to be restricted by, by by just general kind of history, right? So that's also a very very positive thing, a very freeing and sort of uh, a good thing for creative for the creative aspect of different types of content for the game. Yeah. Also, in terms of like one of the articles kind of like branching off from this main article that we're kind of going through. There's a section actually saying that you're not given much of the storyline, that kind of content from the get-go. You kind of get like given essentially your kind of side of it to some degree, but like it's not actually kind of, you're not actually given a large amount of explanation as to what the lore is, what the history is, and all that kind of thing. But you apparently you get to discover, you basically get to discover the story through the world itself. So obviously you're finding various different things. You're discovering like historical moments in the lore of the world, like told back by various different people, who've recorded it in various different ways. It's yeah, it's gonna be interesting. There's definitely a lot of adventure, a lot of open worldness that is going to be afforded to us.
Mm-hmm. Um, so going back to like how some of these systems could work together here to actually build some stuff. So
Mm.
so you got these factions. They're clearly going to fight each other. Otherwise, why pick a side? You've got player owned companies taking territories that people are gonna want because there's only so many of them. You're also going to have this kind of subplot game of building up a settlement and bringing in people to harvest the resources from your area while you're off fighting in the war.
There's a lot that we can kind of like talk about with that regard, right?
Yeah, I mean it's all like at this point it's all theory. So like you've got this group of people that can live on your land and potentially not be part of PvP at all. But maybe they become like there is an aspect that they've said in one of these articles at least that if you're not a good landlord, maybe your settlers will turn against you and help the enemy fight you. So part of me thinks like this official 50 on 50 might be augmented by one side gaining the advantage of their settlers coming to their aid or feigning coming to their aid. So there could be some really interesting gameplay on that.
But the interesting thing about that is it affords a situation where that kind of population that's basically living in the housing that's outside, it essentially ends up becoming a resource for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
an income stream because you're gaining taxes off of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's an income stream and a resource. Like, there's probably going to be multiple ways that you can actually you can utilize the people there and the resources that they that they can kind of
mm-hmm.
They can bring in, etc., etc. So there can be a lot of interesting interplay between social groups in that regard. So that's going to be really cool.
I like Nils' question here. So do you guys think there will be open world PvP possible between all the factions? I sincerely hope so. Like, I think if you opt into that PvP, like there should be this open world concept, and using these factions and stuff, you could effectively like. So you want to do a mission for the faction? Awesome. You want to gain points with them? Great. It's going to guide you towards a specific siege that happens, for this hour. And maybe you play a part in the siege. Maybe you play a part in choking off, maybe you play a part in choking off the reinforcements coming to aid that, that the defense. But you do it outside of that actual like area. I really hope that there's that open world PvP aspect there, where you're getting combat from people that actually or like one, they're coming to the fight to fight. You're there and you want to fight, and you're getting people fighting each other that both sides want the fight. Like,
oh yeah,
that's my hope. Is like maybe they found a way to get the best things that they highlighted from the February 8th videos, and they found a way to get all of those and make other people happy in the process, while making it possible for you to do that content PvP wise and have somebody else do all of the grinding resources and base building, and let them do whatever they want back home. Like, that could be really fun.
And it also helps. It helps those types that like literally just want to PvP and want to do that. but without all the grinding associated with, you know, an open world MMO, to be able to leverage other people to do it for them, you know, for
Yeah.
the for the advantages that are afforded by them by, you know, someone who is exceptionally good at PvP.
Mm-hmm. You know,
And
and maybe you make arrangements with your settlers that, hey, we're gonna lower the taxes. You know, we're gonna charge you a super low amount of gold per week or whatever it's gonna be, but instead we want you guys to go travel to the far sides of the map and collect all of these rare resources and bring them back. You know, so that we can build, you know, our you know, high tier armor and weapons and all of that, and you know, we can, you know, be more effective. Um,
at defending the base and at,
yeah.
you know, at making sure that, like, you know, your way of life as such is protected, and we can have our fun, right?
Mm-hmm. You know, and it's also
Cool.
got a much more like social aspect to it as well, where you'll have, you know, the landlord, you know, if you know, you're the company that owns the territory and you've got this settlement, and if you are just colossal dicks to your settlers and you've got this huge tax, and you know, you're not really, you know, you're not helping them at all with any of the building of the settlement at all, or building of the base at all, like, you know, they feel like you're just, you know, reaping money off of them. You know,
And I
in the
kind
next
of
siege, you
almost,
know, maybe they don't come to your
yeah,
help.
like yeah, because we're not entirely certain whether, you know, those settlers will be able to aid in any way, shape, or form. But I kind of hope that they will be able to, because it kind of affords some very interesting dynamics when it comes to sieges, right?
Yeah.
Because if the idea of, you know, keeping those settlers like on your side means that you have somehow have kind of like a strategic or a numerical advantage in some way, shape, or form when it comes to like sieging and all of that kind of
Mm-hmm.
gameplay, then it also means that, like, you know, there's a social aspect of actually not being a complete dick to people.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, but then there's also a situation where, you know, like, you know, maybe people do want to be dicks to people because they feel like, you know, their PvP prowess means that they don't need to worry about, um, you know, being outnumbered, because they prefer a target rich environment. They prefer, you know, going 2 to 1, 3 to 1, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they can, and in those situations, you can basically be in the situation where you can almost, um, you can charge almost what you want from the settlers, because
Yeah.
you know that, like, you know, you're not going to be forced out, and you know, your ability to defend your keep is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
unchallenged.
And so the
Well,
other
not
thing
not
is that
unchallenged, but
it
just,
creates this
you know,
benefit of like, of actually bringing in PVE players that, you know, because so, you know, truth be told, most people do both. So like, you know, you're you know, when I played Rust, your guys who go out and do a lot of the farming are also some of the first people to show up when, hey, the place got, you know, we're getting raided, like, you know, they're the first people to show up as well. So like, most of the time they're gung ho to do it. But you know, let's say you get, you know, a whole bunch of guys who are just out to, you know, I want my little house, you know, and I want to just go explore. I'm not going to do any resource gathering for you, and I'm not going to come help at all during anything. You know, I think there needs to be a way to evict them so that you can start being selective with who's on your territory. Like, you know, and start, you know, building up this cadre of, you know, kind of like a militia that lives outside your front door that, you know, is gonna you know, gather resources, and do all of this stuff for you and help build your base. But when shit hits the fan, they're also gonna have your back, which I think there's some serious opportunity there. Um,
I mean, I really like it from a social aspect because it kind of it adds this dimension to fighting and to sieging to like just a tactical kind of gameplay that makes it just it makes it more than just, you know, oh, I'm going to siege you, and if my PvP kind of capabilities are better than than yours, or if I have like more explosive than you, then I'm, you know, I'm clearly going to win. It kind of adds this extra dimension, which is kind of really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It means that it's different, like marked, like in a marked way different to a lot of the other kind of like open world MMO kind of games.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot there that, like, and I could see these systems, like the interplay between these systems kind of pulling focus from one area to another, and you know, kind of guiding the defense and offense to the same place, so you're getting more apex battles and more, you know, content on that front. um it, you guys are fine, just ignore the bot. uh it's got all of the things set on it, but it doesn't have any teeth right now. um yeah.
It's all good.
So I really think that there's I really think that there's some opportunity here, and I think, like, with how good of a game Amazon created, and clearly there's passion out there for this game. You know, they openly decided to take it back out of the alpha stage and go back and add a huge amount to it. You know, one of the comments that almost unanimously the February 8th things videos and reviews said from the media was, wow, this is a really polished game. It's very good looking. Like, you know, some of the art, you know, this is what the game looks like. This is not a painting.
Yeah,
this is what the game looks like.
Rendering. It's like an actual in-game, in-engine.
You know, I can tell you that there, if you want to see like some really good stuff, there is a video out there that was shot in 4K by one of the people. I would totally recommend watching that one, because there's something there. Like, one, it's in 4K, so like it's going to show you what it is to play the game in high resolution with the max settings. Like, it is freaking beautiful. Like, if you want more proof, I've got hundreds of photos on the Discord, like hundreds of them. Feel free to peruse them. You don't have to stay in the Discord. It's just a place that I've collected them all. You know, feel free to do what you want. But they're all there, along with, like, I went through all the dev diaries and the dev thing, and I snipped it. All of the screens in the background, I've got closer up images that show what's on them. You know, so you don't have to go digging and watch the video and, you know, stop at just the right spot. I went through and did that, you know, tedium for you. So you can see things like, hey, that's a lot of different Great Axe looks. You know, maybe that's, you know, a ton of skins that they're potentially doing for that, which, you know, we know that there's going to be in-game purchases, probably going to be a ton of skins. You know, some of those skins looked really friggin' cool. You know, I'm personally lobbying for, like, you know, one of the armor set skins to look like the Roman legionnaire from the trailer. Like, I think that would be the coolest shit ever. You know, or like the cloth, you know, the super basic cloth, you know, cloth armor to just be a toga, so you could you know, role play as a you know, as the Romans. Like, I think that'd be really funny. And of course, it's got more reason to be there.
I kind of hope that there'll be other kind of sort of other historical sort of garb and that kind of thing. That'd be pretty cool.
Now, I also want to state that for anybody that wonders where I get some of this stuff, I think I said earlier, some of this stuff you have to really dig for. Like, it's not super prevalent on the internet, but you can find it. Some of the screenshots that we have, you have to dig really deep into like lumberyard stuff to find. Like, they're promotional materials for lumberyard that have the New World logo. So notice the New World logo at the bottom here. Actually, let me sorry, it's hiding behind our logo. But you can see the New World logo in the bottom. This is an official image from them. But this image was used to promote Lumberyard and has, when I found it, it had no tag for New World on the forum that it was on, but it's obviously promotional stuff. And they were talking about, hey, this is what you can do in Lumberyard. There's some really cool stuff here. I've went through and scoured the internet for stuff like this. I know I need a new hobby as well, but until I can find that, gonna keep providing some stuff here. I've also found all of the old stuff, like the stuff that from the previous iterations and that. We're closing in on an hour, and I don't want to drag on for too long. I also don't want to miss anything, but I think that's probably what we're going to cover for today. We're going to take a break through the holidays. We're gonna probably come back after the new year unless there's some major announcement. I'm gonna be traveling. We got a bunch of other people traveling. Everybody's kind of busy for those holidays. So that said, if you guys want to follow, if you want to, if you want to join the Discord, feel free. If you want to spread the Discord around, feel free. And I'm building this as a public resource, and it's entirely to just help build hype for a game that I really think is going to be something great. Yeah. So with that has been the NWO show. I want to thank you guys for coming. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and for our people that catch this afterwards, if you want to catch the show, we put out a ping generally right before we record it, because we do not have a consistent schedule of when we actually do these, and we enjoy doing them kind of ad hoc, kind of when the news hits, and kind of when it's fresh. That way we're talking about the ideas and we're not repeating stuff that we've been going through. So with that, thank you guys. Have an awesome day. And we are out.